At first, it felt like every other last-minute camping trip we'd done before. This was up near the edge of some time in late October, and it was me, Caleb, and Marcus driving around old service roads, looking for somewhere we could park and sleep for a few hours before fishing the river the next morning. And because it was already getting dark, we ended up pulling into this abandoned roadside picnic area that looked like it hadn't been maintained in years. There were still 2 concrete picnic tables there, and an old bathroom building with the doors boarded shut, but most of the place was overgrown enough that branches scraped the sides of the truck when we pulled in, and I remember Marcus joking that it looked like the kind of place people dump bodies, because there wasn't even a sign for it anymore off the road. Around that same time, Caleb mentioned some weird thread he'd read on a local fishing forum before the trip, where people talked about gear going missing around old pull-off spots in Pisgah, and a few comments kept referring to somebody called the Watchers. But we laughed about it, because every forest in America seems to have stories people make up to mess with tourists. We stayed anyway, because it was quiet and flat, and there was enough room to park without being visible from the highway. For the first hour, everything felt normal. Caleb cooked ramen on a small propane stove, while Marcus kept throwing little sticks down the hill behind the picnic area, trying to hear how far the drop went into the trees. And every now and then, we'd hear them land way farther down than expected. The woods around us were dense enough that the flashlight barely carried anywhere past the first rows of trees. Around maybe 11, we heard a vehicle somewhere nearby, not close, just slow. The sound kept fading in and out through the woods, like somebody driving circles on the back roads nearby. And at first, none of us cared, because forest roads stay active pretty late during hunting season. But after maybe 20 minutes, Marcus noticed something weird. The headlights never appeared. You could hear gravel shifting sometimes, hear an engine idling for a few seconds, but no lights ever past the entrance to the picnic area. Caleb eventually walked up near the road to look, and came back saying he couldn't see anything at all beyond the trees. A little later, Marcus grabbed the flashlight and headed behind the bathroom building to piss, and maybe 30 seconds after he disappeared around the side, we heard him call our names sharply enough that both of us stood up immediately. When we got around back, he was standing completely still, pointing the flashlight toward the woods behind the building. There was a folding chair sitting out there, maybe 20 feet into the trees, just one chair facing directly toward the picnic area, and none of us remembered seeing it earlier. Caleb walked a little closer, trying to get a better look, and quietly asked how something like that even got out there. And while he was saying it, Marcus suddenly asked us to stop talking for a second. That's when I heard it too. Voices, not clear enough to make out words, just low talking somewhere downhill, beyond the trees, and there were at least 2 different people speaking. The sound kept stopping and starting again, like whoever it was kept pausing to listen. Then another voice answered from farther uphill behind us, not loud, just one sentence, spoken normally somewhere in the dark, near the road.
Y'all staying here tonight?
None of us answered. Marcus turned the flashlight toward the sound immediately, but there was nothing there except trees and the edge of the road above us. Then the voices downhill stopped completely at the same time. That was the moment everything changed, because suddenly it didn't feel like people randomly out in the woods anymore. It felt coordinated. Caleb quietly said, "We should just throw everything in the truck and leave," and nobody argued with him. The second we started grabbing gear, we could hear movement starting again downhill, leaves shifting, slow footsteps changing position through the dark without anyone using lights. Marcus kept sweeping the flashlight through the trees, while I grabbed the cooler beside the picnic table, and halfway to the truck, I realized somebody was walking along the road above us, matching our movement. I still couldn't see them clearly through the brush, but every time we moved, they moved too. Caleb got into the driver's seat, while Marcus stayed outside, holding the flashlight toward the woods. And right before I climbed into the truck, Marcus suddenly backed up fast enough to slip on the leaves beside the pavement. He caught himself against the side of the truck and yelled that somebody was coming downhill. I looked up and saw two people moving through the trees without flashlights, not running, just coming straight toward us, fast enough that branches were snapping under their feet. At the same time, another shape stepped out near the road entrance where we had pulled in earlier, close enough now that I could finally tell it was a man standing there watching us without saying anything. Caleb threw the truck into reverse so hard we nearly clipped one of the concrete tables, backing out onto the road, and for a second, the tires just spun loose on wet gravel before catching. None of us talked for maybe the first 30 seconds after leaving. Then Marcus suddenly turned around in his seat, looking through the rear window, and told Caleb to slow down for a second. I looked back too. There were 3 people standing at the entrance to the picnic area, watching the truck disappear down the road, and sitting beside them, near the edge of the trees, was another folding chair facing toward where we had been parked.